Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Holland. Welcome to the latest Kairos live demo. Today, we're going to highlight the semantic layer's role enabling a great user experience for both AI and BI. Now, our clients, like everyone else, are making their way into the AI space. And when they look at their semantic layer, this core piece of their analytics stack, they want to know, how can we use this to start driving AI? And what many are seeing is their universal semantic layer is driving some very interesting, very compelling results. So before we jump to the demo, let's look at what a lot of teams struggle with in their current stack and then how we help solve this. We'll lay that out. Then I'll hand things over to my colleague, Pranay Jain, who will drive the demo. So let's look at the enterprise tech stack today for a lot of teams out there. Analytics, no secret, still siloed, fragmented. Tools continue to multiply. Business logic, the KPIs, the custom calculations, they can live at any and every layer of your data stack. AI agents rely on prompts and tool schemas. BI tools, they can maintain their own metric definitions. Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, Fabric, you name it, they all have their own version of semantic views and catalogs. And the result is these metrics, whatever they are, revenue, churn, daily active users, could be dozens, hundreds of these, right? Often end up with conflicting values, and that largely depends on what your starting point is. So this is what we're talking about when you hear there's no single source of truth. And each new tool that you add can compound the problem, adding another layer of semantic logic, another layer of complexity. And the result is AI systems, interact with data without reliable business context. Metrics contradict each other across dashboards and agent responses. Things get messy, things get unmanageable pretty quickly. And this is, we'd all agree, not ideal. So, what's to be done about it? One may ask. Good question. The good news is you can get your arms around this and bring some order to it and start to get real results from your stack and the investment that you've already made. And Kairos helps you do this by providing a simpler, cleaner architecture. Rather than managing around metrics, calculations, and logic in every tool at every layer, Kairos gives you a universal headless semantic layer to standardize your logic across the enterprise. Metrics, logic hierarchies, those relationships, they're all defined once in a governed semantic model, creating a single certified source of truth for all those business definitions. Now, all your front ends, AI agents, apps, chatbots, LLMs, good old BI tools, they can now access both data and data meaning, the context, through this shared layer. BI tools continue to visualize, agents continue to orchestrate, chatbots and apps continue to surface insights, right? But now the semantic logic powering all of them has been defined once, it's governed centrally, and it's served everywhere, wherever you need it to be. Eliminating that fragmentation, resolving those contradictions, and really making the entire data stack reliably AI ready. So that is the story. That is the picture that all of our clients are marching towards. So now that you know where the universal semantic layer kind of sits in the stack, the value it's bringing, the purpose it's serving, let's see it in action. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to our senior solutions architect, Pranay Jain. Pranay, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. I'm Pranay Jain. To show how this works in practice, we'll walk through a quick demo across multiple analytics interfaces. First, we'll use Claude Cowork as an AI agent interacting with enterprise data, helping drive decisions with the right business context. Next, we'll look at Kairos Dialogues, where an AI chatbot answers business questions using the same governed semantic layer. And finally, we'll show how BI tools like Tableau and Power BI connect to that same semantic model to power dashboards and analysis. The key point is that all of these interfaces are querying the same Kairos semantic layer, ensuring consistent definitions, metrics, and business logic across AI and BI. All right. So now let's start the demonstration. Let me share my screen. All right, so now let's look at the semantic model we are going to use for today's demo. This is a retail superstore semantic model which will serve as a universal semantic layer for all your agentic frameworks, AI apps, and BI tools. This semantic model is built on Snowflake, but it can include data from any data source like Databricks, Google BigQuery, Redshift, Postgres, or OLTP systems like Oracle, SQL Server, etc. The best part is it is very scalable, meaning you could have as many columns and dimensions as you want, okay? And without having to compromise on performance within a single semantic model. You could also include as much history as you need, going back 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years to see trends for specific analysis. In the Skyward semantic model, you can define hierarchies for drill downs on specific columns, and you can also define standalone attributes. We can also define KPIs and calculations for our analysis. This becomes the centralized layer where all your calculations and KPIs reside for consumption across AI and BI. We can also set up additional metadata to reduce hallucinations of the AI agents and apps using the AI settings tab. Within the settings tabs, there is columns metadata where we can generate additional tags as well as business context for individual columns that the users might leverage for their analysis. This is my Claude cowork. I'm going to start a simple analysis. Okay. So let's just say analyze sales performance by region. That's it. Let's go. So what this does is it basically connects to the Kairos application. We've built a custom connector, okay, wherein we can define our own commands. We can create our own scales. Now on the side, you can see the progress it's making, okay. It's firing it up with all the queries that need to be generated, okay. And we'd wait for a couple of seconds. So here we see the steps that it has determined, the to-do list, right? Wherein discovering all the semantic models, identifying which models to run this query on, which is, a sales performance. So here we're going to look at the retail superstore model. Then it's generating and executing the sales for the sales by region. Okay, so it's creating that query. And finally, it would basically analyze the results and present us the findings. Right? So here we can see all the actions that have happened. And finally, the findings are here. The sales performance by region for a retail superstore semantic model. Okay. What are the different numbers for different regions, which include APAC, US, Europe, Latin America, Africa, the total sales, and including with that some other KPIs like profit, orders, customers, etc. It also determines what the key findings are, right? Based off of these data points, it has come up with the revenue leadership, which are the regions that have dominated, what is the profitability and the efficiency. And for specific regions like Latin America and EMEA, what are the different profitability problems or why there are low returns. It also generates the executive takeaways. So all of these have been defined as part of the Kaibo semantic layer. When a user asks a question, we want to be able to give them these kind of takeaways and the follow-ups as part of the response. Now, let's take a look at what happened during this process. As I said, listed the semantic models, created the SQL to run the query. Then it has all the information about the columns. Let me just expand this. So we can see the region, the sales, profit, and the different KPIs. It executes the query on the Kairos application and then finally analyzes the data and prints out the results. Okay. Now let's take a look at the Kairos Dialogues app. So this is available within a module called the Dialogues in the Kairos application. And I want to start a simple analysis. Let's say we looked at the sales performance by region. Now, for the same model, I want to be able to understand exactly what is happening during the weekday and the weekends, right? So I'm going to run a simple query to say, how am I doing on a weekend versus a weekday for the sales in different regions? And here we go. And look at the speed at which this is performing, right? So we have millions of data points to consider, and still you can get the performance that you need across those data points. It gives you a visualization. So for example, we are looking at different regions, and on a weekday versus a weekend, what are the numbers looking like, right? So for APAC, we see a lot of activity during the weekday as compared to the weekend. Same thing for across different regions. Along with that, it generates a summary of the data. So for example, we can see the key patterns in the data. Okay. Where is the region where we see more sales on weekdays, okay, as compared to the weekends? Big sales happening across APAC and EU, and some of the other insights, right? It gives you observations and again, the executive takeaways. What are the key takeaways from this analysis that the Dialogues app has done? So this is the conversational analytics app that comes with the Kairos application where you can have a conversation with your semantic model. Okay. Now let me switch over to Tableau. So here within the Tableau application, I'm again connecting to the same retail superstore model. It's a live connection. Okay. And once I create a live connection, I'm able to actually see the same semantic model. So you can see the different dimensions like customer name, the KPIs that we had listed down, and all the other fields that are available for analysis. Using this, we could create our own dashboard. So let me go into presentation mode here. So this is a profit analysis dashboard where I want to look at the profit values and sales values across different countries, different categories. I have the trend analysis by month, and then just a couple of other analysis in terms of like by different ship modes, what are the profitability values, right? And I can simply select, let's say, United States, and the entire dashboard gets refreshed. Same way, you could select a particular ship mode, okay, and see the analysis. So the idea here is to show the same semantic model, which is governed across multiple applications, okay? It is available for analysis both on the AI apps as well as the BI applications. And we're going to look at a similar model in Power BI as well. So I'm going to quickly switch to Power BI. A similar dashboard on the same model. So first, let's take a look at the model itself. On the data panel, I could see the retail superstore model. Okay, if I expand this, I could see the same model, right? The customer name, geo, KPIs, expand any one of those. You could see the hierarchies that have been created. You have the standalone attributes, the KPIs. So everything remains the same across Power BI, Tableau, and the AI apps. Now, let me switch back to the dashboard real quick. Again, profit analysis dashboard where we have profit distribution by countries, by different categories, trend analysis by month, profit by ship mode, and again, interactive chart to get you the speed that you need. So the entire dashboard refresh for, let's say, country China, what are the values looking like, right? So here, I conclude my demonstration in terms of the same semantic model available across your AI and BI applications. All right, let me stop my screen share and hand it back to Matt.
Thanks, Pranay. Very cool. Looking across Claude, looking across Kairos Dialogues, chat application, and the BI tools. Any questions on anything that you saw that Pranay was demoing there or anything we talked about at the top? Any questions, please let us know and we'll get back to you uh, quick with some answers. If teams are yelling at you because they want this kind of thing from your stack, or maybe you are that team that's doing the yelling, or you're currently just exploring semantic models. If you're looking for a fast, accurate, cost-effective source for your AI cases, we can help you get there. So Either drop us a question or you can go to kaibosinsights.com and raise your hand and we'll get you in touch with the right team. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good one, everybody. Appreciate it.